They want to steal your crypto and your XRP. But in this video, I'm going to explain why you're still early and why you should be accumulating XRP through the end of 2024. Now, XRP recently hit a high of 65 cents, only to be sold right back off to 55 cents, currently sitting at 57 cents, and this has people nervous. Some folks think this is the lower high in a major downtrend that's going to bring us to a new local low below 38 cents. But is that true? However, when you actually study markets, they typically correct through the months of May, June, July, August into September. In other words, we experience a summer lull. Is that going to be the case this time around in 2024? Well, back in 2020, right before we had a major move in Bitcoin and in crypto markets, we experienced about 130 days of sideways ranging price action. Then again in 2023, through the months of April all the way to October, for 190 days, we experienced a sideways ranging price action. So now we're in 2024 in a major uptrend with Bitcoin spot ETFs and all sorts of new developments in the crypto market, from pro crypto and regulatory friendly people in Congress to institutional support like we've never seen before from the likes of Larry Fink, Fidelity, and all sorts of other major players with trillions of dollars of assets under management. Well, we started ranging since March, and we're currently into now August for 142 days, but we're ranging. So it's very likely that this is just normal price action through the summer months. Now, in this video, I'll be presenting information on both sides, the bear case and then the bull case, and sharing my personal thoughts surrounding the recent sell-off and why it's a great time to be stacking up on XRP and crypto. Also, before you watch another second of this video, head on over to bullrunners.com to learn how to play the #1 and the very first play to earn XRP game. So if the markets do continue to range over the month of August or even through September, you'll have a way to put your crypto to work. So if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777, and if you are going to be the richest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button, and let's get into the video and why you should be accumulating crypto. But first, we're going to dive into the bear market case. Before we dive in, a quick reminder that the opinions in this video are for informational and educational purposes only and do not constitute financial, legal, or investment advice. All investments, including cryptos, carry risks and potential losses. Always do your own research and consult with a licensed financial advisor. We are not licensed financial advisors, and relying on our content for financial decisions is at your own risk. By watching this video, you agree we are not responsible for any losses or damages, and we do not guarantee any specific results or outcomes. Some of the links below may be affiliate links, and we may earn a commission, which actually helps support this channel and helps us to create value-based videos like this. We also hold some positions in the cryptocurrencies that we talk about, but that's only because we do what we believe in. However, this should not be interpreted as a recommendation for you to do the same. With that said, let's get into the video. Now, if you are currently an investor in XRP, or you've been thinking about accumulating more, or maybe this is your first time and you're like, should I be investing into XRP right now? When is the right time? I'll go ahead and explain near to the end of the video exactly where a good buy range would look like, when would be a good time to accumulate XRP. But in the meantime, I'm just going to share what's got investors a bit shaken up. As you can see here, since May of 2022, we've been in a very long-term ranging market, right? The market has just been ranging in a price range of, 72 to 75 cents all the way down to like 30 cents. And I would argue that the average is somewhere in the 48 to 50 cent range. Well, in typical fashion, right, you want a healthy market to be in an uptrend. And long term, from an XRP perspective, we are. We have a series of higher highs and higher lows, and now we've just been ranging for years and years and years. But even when you take a trend line tool and drag it through here, you can see that we've consistently held the lower range of the trend. So you could argue this is an uptrend. It's just like, it gets hard when you're sitting in a market that's not making any major moves. Well, this recent move has got some investors excited, especially when you look at it from a monthly time frame perspective. So right here we have the monthly time frame on. In other words, each one of these candles represents a single month. And as you can see here on the month from the low, we closed up about 62%. And not only that, this was a massive bullish engulfing candle. The last 2 months were very low volatility months, meaning markets, especially XRP, wasn't that exciting. However, this is also a strong indicator that with low volatility, we have the majority of sellers out of the market. We had some liquidations here, probably on leverage, and all of those ranges got bought back out. In other words, for a period of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 straight months, we have failed to close below the 47-cent range. That, in my opinion, is a very strong indicator that there is massive demand and a lot of strong holders in that range. But is it possible for us to go lower? There's a lot of people right now that think we will. Personally, I don't, but I'll explain why. So what's got investors a bit bearish? Well, first, I think it's basically the price action. When you look at the major high of the last year on July 13th of 2023, and then the next major high in March of 2024, you can see that this is a classic or a textbook downtrend. And arguably from an intermediate term perspective, from March of this year till present day, if we sell off here, right, and we continue to break down below, I would say the 47-cent range, then it is likely we're going to touch that 38 cents range, maybe even down to the 30-cent range. And that would be a textbook downtrend, especially on the intermediate term time frame since March of this year. Now, there's a few different reasons people believe the sell-off in XRP happened in arguably all of the crypto markets. And one of those reasons is because apparently the U.S. government sold $10,000 of Bitcoin. In other words, that is $650 million. Now, when you head on over to Arkham Intelligence, we do have the U.S. government Bitcoin wallet. They are currently sitting on $13.5 billion of crypto, most of that being in Bitcoin. And as you can see here, money really did move off of their wallet. At one point, they had 213,000 Bitcoin. They moved about 10,000 Bitcoin. But it is an assumption. Just because the Bitcoin moved off of their wallet and probably to an exchange doesn't necessarily mean that they have sold it. They could be preparing to sell it. They could be using it as collateral. I don't know who's in charge of this wallet. Virtually nobody does. But what I will say is that it is an assumption. And, when you have the market selling off and this type of activity with Bitcoin, it can cause people to freak out and sell their tokens at a discount. So who's really picking up these tokens? We'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to dive into another reason people think Bitcoin and XRP have sold off. In this article from the Wall Street Journal, they're saying weak economic data has prompted a stock sell-off. And if you've been paying attention to those markets, it is true. Weakening employment, manufacturing, and construction data pushed the benchmark 10-year Treasury yields below 4% on Thursday for the first time since February and prompted a broad sell-off in stocks and other risky investments. Major indexes reversed an early climb from a key gauge of manufacturing activity, fell deeper into contraction territory, and the Census Bureau said construction spending declined in June for the second straight month. And honestly, if you've listened to your grandpa or anyone who messes around with TradFi markets, it is true. We now have had multiple 100 billion plus and 1 trillion plus dollar companies erase 30% of their value in a matter of days. Intel just erased 1/3 of its entire market cap in a single day. Nvidia is swinging $500 billion of market cap every 24 hours like a meme stock. And this is something that has been a leader the entire market in one of the biggest trending narratives in all markets, which is AI. The Magnificent Seven, in other words, the 7 companies that are basically carrying the entire stock market on their back, has seen a $3 trillion swing in market cap over the last 3 weeks. And now the market is relying on small cap stocks to support itself, many of which have poor balance sheets. When the world's largest companies can erase 1/3 of their value in a day or a week, you have to ask yourself, is this really a healthy market? Now, one of the major readings that kind of gives us a lagging signal, but definitely an insight into what's going on in the markets, are jobless claims and unemployment. A jobless claim here is described as the number of people who filed for unemployment insurance for the first time during the past week. So this is going to be dynamic. It's going to change. It's obviously going to increase in a very bearish environment where people are getting laid off and companies can't afford to operate. But it's not one of those things that's like unemployment, right? Someone can collect unemployment for months at a time, but not everyone is filing a jobless claim every single time they're collecting. They're only doing that about one time, maybe multiple times, but ultimately they're either approved or denied. Now, why this is important is because it's the most timely U.S. economic data, but the market impact varies from week to week. So it is dynamic from a weekly basis. What I'm really after is seeing a stark contrast in what the expectations are and what actually happened. So the previous week, right, we had about 235,000 people file unemployment claims. The actual forecast, or in other words, what experts and analysts thought was going to happen, is they thought we were going to see 236K unemployment jobless claims, and what we actually had happen was 249,000, which is far worse than we expected. And that's a little bit outside of the range of what's normal. Sometimes it'll be a few thousand off, sometimes it'll be 4,000 or 5,000 off, but to get an extra 13,000 off on a reading like this is actually pretty shocking. But it seems like unemployment truly is climbing up now, right? Not only have we been trending up since the local low in April of 2023, but now we're putting in new highs and new lower highs, or higher lows, I should say. So that said, whenever we start to trend up like this, right, we eventually continue to climb up until well into the bottom of a bear market, and then we peak off usually when we're well into the recovery, like we did back here. We are already recovering from the bottom of the market by the time unemployment peaked right here. And the same thing happened here, even though we had tons of money printing or quantitative easing. In other words, it's very much possible that this time, or this move right here, looks very similar to what happened here, and we see an acceleration to the upside as more people continue to lose their jobs because we see weaker and weaker economic data, right? And the markets continue to dump. And so a lot of people are relatively fearful. However, there is another variable, and this thing could very much just cool off like this and start chilling out. In other words, it could just be a little blip in a major move. Needless to say, people are a bit fearful, right? When you look at all of these negative economic indicators, it's easy to want to sell your bags while someone picks them up on the cheap. But I think that's a poor excuse to give up your good crypto and sell it to someone who's going to make more on it. You might be selling the local low. So over here, I'm on sentiment. As you can see here, these are the major trending crypto narratives, from DePIN to airdrops to blockchain, real world assets, Ethereum, stablecoins, so on and so forth. One of the major trending crypto narratives is bear market. And if I click on over here, you can see in the last recent price moves, we recently had right here we have Bitcoin, the green line. The red line is the social dominance of the actual narrative of bear and or market. You can see right up here. In other words, we actually are hitting a local high that we haven't seen since the previous lows at like $56,000 and $52,000 respectively. So that said, we are at local highs on bear market sentiment, which means it might actually present a really good opportunity to buy, considering we actually haven't broken down. Our trend isn't down, and arguably the entire stock market needed to cool off. Now, before we dive into the bull case, go ahead, while we're at it, go to bullrunners.com to discover how to earn more crypto in less than 10 minutes per day with the very first XRP play to earn game. Okay, let's get back into the video. Now, one of the most bullish things for all markets right now is the fact that the Federal Reserve is getting closer to cutting its interest rates. At its recent meeting, the Federal Reserve held that interest rates are steady on Wednesday and indicated a rate cut could come as early as September if inflation continues to moderate. The broad sense of the committee is that the economy is moving closer to the point where it could be appropriate to reduce our policy rate. And that is true right now when you look at an app like Trueflation. Over here on the year, you can see that we've actually been ranging since September 19th of 2023 between 3% over to present day. We were in the 3 to 2.3% range. For the first time since 2022 and 2021, we are coming down and cooling off in inflation. We are currently sitting at a local low of 1.5%. So this has led a lot of major investors to price this into the market. They believe that in September we are going to experience a rate cut on inflation. And on the news of a major rate cut, okay, when it comes to the interest rates, that is going to potentially drive major levels of demand when it comes to borrowing and capital. In other words, for people like me and you and the average investor, that means that we are likely to see a rally, a major rally on that news. And the majority of people believe that's likely to happen sometime in September of this year, which is only a month away. And it will be the first time in a very long time that we're starting to see some rate cuts on interest rates. Now, with all of the bearish news that we've experienced and then one piece of positive news, you would wonder, well, why aren't, markets dumping way harder? Should I stay in them? And I would argue this is the perfect time to be accumulating when you have a company like BlackRock still buying. Here we have Arkham Intel, and I would argue they're one of the best when it comes to AI and looking at the actual blockchain and where the money flows are going. Bitcoin is down 10%. Grayscale is dumping $2 billion in terms of ETH. The Middle East is on the brink of war, as we've seen between Israel, Palestine. They just bombed someone in Iran, but BlackRock is still buying. And in a recent report, we actually talked about how BlackRock is actually very bullish through the end of the year. So all of this negative news would lead most people to believe I should be selling. However, if you sell, guess who you're selling to? You're likely selling to BlackRock. In other words, they are here to steal your crypto from you at today's prices, and then they want to sell it back to you in future prices. And I would argue all of this is proven on the blockchain when we look at the amount of Bitcoin being removed from exchanges. Again, just as a refresher, this white line right here, I'll turn this purple line off for a second, is the price of Bitcoin. It looks very familiar, right? We hit a recent local high on March 12th of 2024 at $73,000. We're currently sitting at about $64.5 thousand. Okay, we've been ranging for quite a while in an intermediate term downtrend. Now, this purple line is the exchange reserves. And since January of 2024, when we actually introduced the spot ETF for Bitcoin, which basically states that in order for them to sell access to this ETF or exchange traded product, right, to all of their investors and anyone that has money in their assets under management, they would actually have to buy and hold spot Bitcoin 1-for-1 in terms of how much they're selling over there. So that said, they actually need to buy the Bitcoin, right, and then use a custodian like Coinbase, which I would argue Coinbase is going to succeed as well when it comes to this business model, and then hold it off exchange if they plan on selling the ETF. So this right here, this level of demand is what's creating and driving them to pull and rip Bitcoin off exchanges, right, in massive numbers. We're talking right here at one point in time, there was an exchange reserve of 2.84, right? They removed like 75,000 Bitcoin. And now we are at a new local low. So in other words, at every single dip in this entire range from March till present day, they have been removing Bitcoin from exchanges, which is extremely bullish. Now, if we couldn't add any more to the bullishness in terms of how major investors and people in the know are approaching Bitcoin, right, as a potential hedge against reckless spending, reckless governments, inflation, right, an uncertain economic environment, someone like Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy, arguably the largest holder of Bitcoin from a public or private company, is filing the paperwork to issue new equity to raise $2 billion to buy more Bitcoin. And that is giga bullish, as the post says. We continue to closely manage our equity capital and are filing a registration statement for a new $2 billion at the market equity offering program. This guy is levering into the market. Now, leverage is like a fire. It can burn you, but it can also keep you warm. And in this case, I do believe there is enough conviction and data here from what we're seeing across the board that would lead someone like Michael Saylor to believe that we're only going up from here. Then you have another major money manager from Van Eck, the CEO, saying Bitcoin is growing and will eventually be half the total market cap of gold. So that's about $350,000 per Bitcoin. I would argue that's on the very low end, and we are not too sure if he's referring to this bull run or 10 years from now, but either way, the upside is tremendous. Now, in the last major bullish piece of news, Ripple, alongside Open Eden, has tokenized treasuries, which can trade on the actual Ripple network. Now, how big is the US Treasury market? $27 trillion, and that is expected to grow, right? As the US has more capital demands, they're going to typically issue more debt, and this number based on inflation alone is likely to grow. So if they can prove that these are valuable ways to use tokenized assets and the Ripple XRP ledger technology, well then guess what, right? Things are going to be looking good over at Ripple as they also get a settlement from the SEC, which is expected to come to a close sometime in September. Now, all things combined, when I look at the price action, all I see, right, is a major local low since March of like $56,000. So even if we were to break back down into this range, I would argue these are major buying opportunities because of all of the major bullish news. In other words, I'm looking at every single dip, right? Not as an opportunity to get out or something to be afraid of, but something to look at with excitement, especially when you have the general market selling off, but all you see is Bitcoin actually being bought back up from a local low at 62,000. It immediately got bought back up to the $64,000 range, right? Look at this long wick right here. So I would argue we're already seeing some good support right here at the $63,000 level. Then when you look at XRP, whether or not it actually continues moving to the downside, any break above this red trend line at like 63 to 64 cents is going to be extremely bullish for XRP. And I would argue it's going to fly past that 75-cent range, probably straight through that 95-cent range, and all the way up to the previous local high at about $2. Then it would remain to be seen what's going to happen there. But we have so much freaking support below here, and arguably at the 48-cent level to the 38-cent level, that I just can't see any environment where, although we've seen a lot of sideways ranging through the summer, where we break down to the 30-cent range. I do believe that was the local low back in July of 2022 and December of 2022, and I see it as unlikely for us to dump there. So where could we potentially potentially dump and where would be a great time to buy? Well, when you look at the current price action, okay, I would argue right here at the 51 to 54 cent range would be the best time to buy. We've had a boatload of price action right here, a lot of resistance that we broke out well above, and now we're seeing a little bit of resistance at this confluence of the downtrend and the VRVP, but I think we're going to see some support here at the 53 to 52 cent range. So anywhere in there to me is a really good buy, especially when you look back, right? In history, it looks like it was a pretty strong resistance. And then back here, before when we were up above that range, it was a very strong support, both in June of 2021, July of 2021, and yet again, January of 2022 before we actually broke back down. So I don't see us breaking too much further below. And if anything, XRP just needed a bit of time to cool off before the next major move up. So BlackRock and all of the bigger players are here to steal your crypto, while you should be doing the exact opposite. You should not be selling it to them at a discount. You should be finding ways to accumulate more. So one last time, head on over to bullrunners.com to discover how to earn more crypto in less than 10 minutes per day with the #1 play to earn XRP game. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. Hope you learned something new here. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.